Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
Coming up today
On the show,
we're declaring war on Christmas.
we are going to officially declare TGIA war
On Christmas.
on Christmas. We'll see.
We're opening a can of worms saying that, I guess.
No. None of the people who care listen to this show. But
You don't know that, Dan.
I hope they do. I would love that.
I know. But they don't.
But they don't.
We know they don't. We're not on their radar. So we can still say whatever we want.
Right. Worms open.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then, of course, tune in next week for our 150th episode.
Yeah, next week we're gonna go crazy.
Yeah, we have a plan.
We do. Such as it is. It's not a great plan. It's just a plan.
I'm excited for the plan. The plan makes me excited.
I'm kind of excited for the plan too.
So anyway,
see what
so
happens.
be sure not to miss that.
Yeah. But until that point, you're gonna have to wait till next week for that. This week is just a boring old regular show with no plans whatsoever.
No, we're just gonna try to get through it.
All right. I will begin.
Okay.
I've got a story here. This comes out of China, Wenzhou, China.
Ooh.
Which is in the east of China and a Christian center of China.
Such things exist?
Yes.
What?
Strangely, though it's like got a lot of Christianity there, they like to call it the Jerusalem of China. I don't know what that ends up meaning, to be perfectly honest. Maybe
it means that once again Christians are just confused
Christians
about who they are and
yeah, exactly.
that they're not.
This just in: Christians confused. I think we all knew that. Anyway, there's been the Chinese government for the longest time has, as we all know, been an atheist government, and specifically against any sort of they're very anti-religion.
Oh yeah.
In the grumpy sort of way that you and I would not approve of.
No.
In the nobody's allowed to do anything but what we say.
But I have to say, it's probably the thing I would find least offensive about living in China.
Okay, fair. Yeah, but the smog.
Yeah, that's way at the top of the list.
Yeah, you can't live
Yeah,
there. And
yeah.
I would feel tall. That would be good.
That's always a good one.
That's a plus.
That's always a good one.
Anyway,
lots of KFC. Everywhere you go.
I don't know, man. I had KFC. I actually did have KFC in India.
Oh,
the sides were all wrong. All you could get as a side was French fries.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want fries with my fried food.
You want mashed potatoes with some gravy.
Yeah.
Some coleslaw.
Maybe some slaw.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently they don't do that there. But back to China, here's what's happening there. They're cracking down on Christianity. They're literally demolishing churches. They're taking crosses down off of churches.
Really?
Police are like riot police are going in. There are people like hundreds and even thousands of people of citizens trying to stop these riot police from going in and taking down these churches. This is a big thing that's happening in China.
So could we call Beijing the Rome of China?
Well, no.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
they're persecuting the Christians.
You're saying Rome persecutes Christians?
Romans.
Well,
ancient
okay.
Romans.
Okay. Oh, ancient Romans.
Not now.
I was like, well,
they
Rome,
love Christians now.
I was like, Rome is the center of
what's called the Colosseum.
Yeah, okay, something like that. No, there was like I read one account of a church where the government pulled their big, giant, heavy cross down from the top of their church, but then like the people sort of threw themselves on it and wouldn't let them drag it away.
Oh.
And they left. But now there's this big, heavy cross that they can't actually move, and now it's just sort of covered by a tarp at the foot of the church's stairs.
Oh,
It's but it's
So these Christian, I'm sorry, I'm just filled with dumb jokes, but these Christian martyrs are going to have to get up off their cross? Sorry. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, so like Christianity has actually been kind of taking a bit of a hold in China. There's like it's a
Well, what was that Falun Gong or whatever it was called?
Falun Gong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a thing? That was a Christian-y, like, culty thing, right?
Yeah.
That was at least seemed big-ish.
Yeah. And I think this was the same area where the Falun Gong were.
Oh, okay.
But it's interesting to me that China just suddenly is cracking down. They've forcibly removed more than 300 crosses from churches.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
like this is a
interesting.
big deal. They're going after them. They, of course, the authorities claim that they are not going. This is just part of a larger campaign to make China pretty. I don't know. Maybe they don't like lowercase letter T's. But no, it's very clear that they're literally that they're cracking down.
Cracking down, yeah.
I think the takeaway here is if a Christian person in the United States says to you, "We are persecuted," you must say, "No, you are not." But if a Christian person in China says to you, "We are persecuted," you say, "Yes, you are."
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's the difference.
But American Christians would love to include
Oh yeah,
all Christians into Christianity. And so when they say that we are persecuted, they are thinking of actual instances of persecution.
yeah. I wasn't going to even tie this in, but I am going to tie this in because this is another story that I was considering doing that I'm not going to do. But I will mention that Pope Francis, none other than the Pope, apparently was talking to a consortium of Jews recently and has declared that World War III is happening currently and that the Christians are the ones that are being persecuted now and not the Jews. So he's making common cause with them by saying, we get it.
Yeah.
It's happening to us now. First, he said, okay, so this is one of those Jewish dudes sort of telling reporters what happened in their conference. This is a guy named Lauder. Somebody Lauder. I don't remember. They were meeting for Rosh Hashanah. Anyway, he says of the Pope, he said first it was your turn, and now it is our turn. In other words, first Jews suffered savage attacks that were met with the world's silence, and now it is the Christians who are being annihilated, and the world is silent.
Where is he getting this?
ISIS? I don't know. And the world is silent about that? Like, what planet? Maybe,
turn on Fox News. Nobody's silent about it.
Maybe it's China. Maybe he's talking about China. That's all I'm getting at. No, he's just talking about Iraq and Syria.
Okay.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's true. Nobody's talking about ISIS at all. Why aren't they talking about it? Why is there silence in the world about all of the Christians? All of the 80 Christians in, well, it's more than that.
Don't diminish what's going on.
No, I'm not trying, but it's not. I mean, the percentage of the world's Christians in Iraq and Syria that are being maltreated, and they're being treated horribly.
Right.
But it's a tiny, tiny percentage of the world's Christians. It's not 6 million Jews.
Right. But if you persecute one, you persecute all.
I guess.
That's clear here.
So, you guys, when we declare our war on Christmas, we're persecuting the Christians. But we haven't gotten that far yet.
Get a Christian in the room, and then let's see whether we persecute him or not.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, since you brought up ISIS,
I did.
I'm just going to go with that. I have an ISIS story. Apparently, they're just setting up shop. They're getting going.
Oh yeah,
and the school year is back in.
Sure.
In Iraq and Syria.
Yeah.
Just like it is here.
Sure.
And they, but clearly, some things have changed in the region.
Yeah.
And so some new people are in charge, and they've decided to take the red pen to the curriculum of the schools.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that they were controlling back-to-school shopping.
They probably are
Come down to ISIS store and have all your back-to-school needs.
All your back-to-school burkas.
That's right. Burk to school.
That's so dumb.
Anyway.
No, they've completely cut out art, history, music, and whatnot from the curriculum. Excuse me. And what's interesting though, beyond also eradicating mentions of Iraq and Syria and replacing that with Islamic State wherever it's mentioned in their curriculum.
Right. They keep rebranding. They need to watch that because soon we're not going to know who they are.
They went so far though to mention Darwin and evolution specifically in what they were banning from the schools.
Yeah.
But nobody seems, at least amongst the ISIS crew, nobody seems to have noticed that they already weren't teaching evolution in Iraq and Syria.
Well,
so, whatever.
They're just guarding against that possible encroachment.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. My concern is that if ISIS / the Islamic State continues, and if they are able to succeed, they will have degraded society in Iraq and Syria so far that it will get to like Alabama levels of degradation. And that worries me. They'll dip that low if they're not careful.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it's they've got a ways to go though.
They've got a ways. They've still got a.
They have not done to Iraq and or to Iraq and Syria what Christianity has done to Alabama. Yeah, you're right.
It's a scare though.
It's definitely could happen.
I wonder. You wonder about you hear about people in the South just screaming and shouting about these Muslims that are going to come in and they're going to the Sharia law and blah blah blah, and then they advocate for exactly the same thing in their schools, only with a cross instead of a crescent.
Well, we've said it on the show, before about they most conservative Christians would be fine living under Sharia law. If it would just it could be exactly the same thing, just change the name. They'd be fine with it.
Exactly. If it had a mullet instead of a beard, they would be thrilled. Frank almost just did a spit take. That was almost a spit take.
I got it under control though. Yeah, but they're of course they're destroying the schools. Of course they're cutting out anything fun or interesting or artistic.
Right.
And any songs that could possibly be left that they could sing that have any mention of state, like any reference to the republics of Iraq or Syria.
Right.
Anthems that encourage love of country specifically are viewed as polytheism and blasphemy, and are strictly banned. So I mean these people I think you could apply the word extremist to them.
What?
I'm willing to go there. I've held back in the past with these
going out on a limb, my friend.
Islamic extremists,
right?
But I'm willing to say that these folk they qualify.
They might be a little extreme, but at least they're killing the right people. No.
What?
For them, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I'm going to stay on the Islamic tip here and talk a little bit about hijabs or headscarves. The
hijab.
the covering of the head of Muslim women. A recent study came out. It was published in a British psychology magazine or journal. What was it called? Anyway, it was a University of Westminster study that apparently they polled nearly 600 Muslim British women and asked them questions about their satisfaction with their bodies and their weight.
Oh, okay.
Now, interestingly, they decided that apparently the study has shown that there's a significant amount of more satisfaction with a woman's own weight and body image when she wears the hijab.
Really?
According to them. Participants who wore the hijab generally had more positive body image, were less reliant on media messages about beauty ideals, and placed less importance on appearance than participants who did not wear the hijab.
I mean, I guess that makes sense on some level. You know, you have this outward... You've gone so far as to put on an outward display of your religious faith,
right?
That, you know, covers most anything that could be a demonstration of beauty in sort of a pop cultural sort of way.
No one can see if you haven't dyed your roots lately.
Right, exactly.
No one can see. I mean, usually
put on
women,
some eye makeup, a little blush maybe, some lipstick, and that's it.
And usually women who wear, or frequently women who wear a headscarf. I don't know how usual this is, but frequently women who wear a headscarf also wear very like head to toe sort of dresses.
Yeah.
And, well, you know, not necessarily a burqa, but they tend to wear fairly shapeless dresses.
I think I know the dress that you're talking about, but then there's also just like, because they can wear whatever they want.
Sure.
There's not a strict uniform, let's say.
Well, there is in some countries.
In some countries there is, but like just in more sort of open...
In a
Western country.
Right, in a country like England or whatever.
Right. You know, but I do think that they are supposed to have their arms covered down to their wrists, right? And
not even showing any ankle.
They can show their hand and their hands and their face. That's really all that should be showing. Right. I believe that's how it's supposed to be.
Something along those lines. Yeah. So, I think that's interesting. I think we need to be open to the idea that there's something to... I don't know.
Well, I've heard this before from Muslim women, that the hijab sort of takes away those pressures.
The pressures of
and that they like that. They like the lack of focus on appearance. I mean, I've heard that being expressed. So now that there's a little bit of a study that actually backs it up, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
I guess the question becomes here's the thing. I am very concerned about how women in Western culture view their own bodies.
Right.
And it's actually becoming epidemic with men too now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's become, body obsession and even, eating disorders, that sort of thing has become a real problem in both sexes.
Right. Well, and I have to say that as a gay man, I'm actually really glad that men have started to feel these same pressures. I mean, it's about time, you know.
Well, maybe you should start feeling some of that pressure, Frank.
Ooh, ouch, Dan. Maybe you should.
I know, we both should. we both hit the gym roughly the same amount.
Yeah.
Which is...
I think in my life I've hit it more.
Yeah. That may be the case. Neither of us are
But right now, not at all.
Yeah, neither of us are going to the gym regularly currently. Which is fine. I mean, I think that's the point. The point is that body image is like the way that we're viewing bodies in Western culture is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Hypersexualized. There's this striving for some weird version of perfection.
Right.
And I think that it's still much harder for women.
So we're clearly on one extreme, and I would say that the hijab is the other extreme.
It's a crazy extreme.
So how do you rein this in? How do you actually like
I don't know.
Promote healthy
body
image without going to some weird place.
Right.
Where it's either
well,
perfect
still,
your body or just completely flat fucking ignore it because you can.
Well, still,
You know?
and still allowing space for people to express their sexuality if they want to, and express their personality with their clothing, and if you want to feel sexy, and if you want to, show off your titties, or not completely, but maybe. I just think it's all. I think we need to have this discussion, and this is an interesting entry into the discussion, the hijab. Anyway, I don't think we're going to answer anything right now, but I just thought that was an interesting study.
All right. Oh, awesome. Cool. Thank you. Well, I have an update to the story that I think you brought up last time about the U.S. Air Force and this airman who had refused to say "So help me God" as part of his oath. Right?
Yeah. What I had neglected to say, which I find cute about the story, I don't think I said this, was that he was just supposed to sign the paper, which he did, but he crossed out the phrase "So help me God." I thought that was. Yeah. And they're like, nope.
Sorry.
So what's the update?
So what happened was the Air Force has reviewed their own policy, and they will now allow airmen to omit "So help me God" from the enlistment oath. And it is effective immediately, even though their handbooks and whatnot will not be updated for a few weeks. But they are right on it, and yeah.
That is
so. I think it was worth bringing up just as an update. I think it's.
And the other thing that I neglected to say last week is that this was a turnaround from before. Like this is we are now on the third flip flop. Because they had the oath, I guess it was just to get into the Air Force Academy.
Okay.
And there was a thing fairly recently, just within the last year or two, where they said, okay, we're going to allow you to come in and not have to swear, "So help me God."
Right.
And then they flip-flopped, and that's what created him having to having this problem. So this is another flip-flop. They're a bunch of flip-floppers, is what they are. But yeah, they had reinstated it because there was so much outcry with it. Why shouldn't they be able to say the thing? And and I heard the crazy rant that Pat Robertson went on. We're not going to play it because it was just weird. But I mean, he went off on this whole thing about well, you don't have to believe in God. It's just, it's not a Christian thing to say, "So help me God." It's just you want help. And how are they going to fly the bombs if they can't? It was just, what the fuck are you talking about, Pat Robertson?
Yeah, I know. It's, yeah. So help me God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting that they are allowed to omit it rather than it being just taken out of the oath. And if somebody wants to say it at the end or express it on their own, they can.
That should be 100% an opt-in.
Yeah.
Not an opt-out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, are they going to allow Muslims to say, "So help me Allah"?
They better.
They should.
If they want them fighting in the Air Force.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
fixing planes in the Air Force. Yeah.
Just crazy. Just stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go to Nigeria and other parts of Africa. There's been, as you might be aware, since we've talked about it a lot, an outbreak of Ebola.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible, horrible, horrible disease that's kind of advancing way too quickly.
It's alarming. It's spreading like it is.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, and
I don't know that I'm not terrified.
It's terrifying for them.
It's terrifying for them.
I'm terrified for them. I'm not terrified for me.
Right. I think the way that the U.S. media presents it is that Dan, should be terrified.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not going to get to me.
No.
But over there, I mean, they're in countries where there's literally, like in all of Liberia, I think I heard that there's 250 doctors. That's
really?
It. Yeah.
For the whole country?
For the whole country.
Well, that's okay.
It's like one doctor for every 30,000 people or something like that.
Dear God.
Yeah.
That's not enough doctors.
No. They're not safe over there. You are not safe. Africans, I'm sorry. I wish you were safe.
Okay.
One of the ways that they're not being safe, however, that is changing, both the Anglican and Catholic churches have issued statements asking priests to deliver communion elements into the parishioners' cupped palms instead of placing the wafers on the tongue.
Oh my God.
There has been, and now, and they're actually sanctioning the practice of intinction, which is rather than sipping from the communion cup, you dip your wafer into the cup and then eat the wafer.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
like a delicious Oreo cookie.
exactly. But I mean, hello, yeah, people are like touching mouths and like then touching somebody else's mouth and then touching somebody else's mouth, and
but it's it's all in the name of the Eucharist.
it's in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost is what the name.
Clearly, it's I mean, we've talked about this before. You don't get sick from this stuff.
You can't.
You can't. It's not possible.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's Jesus' blood.
How
it
can you get
repels
sick
sickness
from Jesus? It's impossible.
Although it's not really Jesus' blood until it's inside you.
Well,
right?
and it doesn't. And only the Catholics transubstantiate.
Oh,
The Anglicans don't.
they don't,
No, they need to get on that train because it's so much safer.
and it makes so much more sense.
Right,
that's what's happening.
Right, exactly. Why Anglicans get with the program here? You need to transubstantiate that shit.
Literally becomes the flesh of Christ.
Right, delicious.
Isn't he running out of flesh at this point?
It just, you know what it does? It transfers from wafer to wafer. There's like little bits of flesh, and then like it, each congregation gets like one little body of Christ, and then it just transports from their bellies into the wafers of other places, and so it's all very magic.
Of course it is.
So that's good, but now they're worried that it's going to do that with Ebola virus on it. So that's
not good.
That's a bad thing.
That's really bad. really bad.
Yeah, hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I was terrified of getting a cold from that sort of stuff, but as it stands, no, it's much worse than that in Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I have the story of the Orange County Public Schools, which recently decided to allow in Christian materials to the kids, like Bibles, like Bible distribution to the kids and all that kind of stuff. But in order to do so, they had to open the doors to everyone.
Yes.
And they figured, okay, we'll have something show up. But what they weren't counting on was the Satanic Temple showing up. And
no one expects the Satanic Temple.
And the Satanic Temple, God bless them.
Oh, I love them so much.
They are distributing the Satanic Children's Big Book of Activities.
Yeah.
Which it's one of those little booklets with all the cute little cartoony drawings.
So adorable.
Like where you have like two pictures and you have to pick the differences between the two pictures. Right. And so this one has a teacher standing at the front of a classroom and some kids are, in the classroom.
This is all cartoony.
All
and
cartoony.
Stuff.
And there's a teacher with a stern look on her face, But Annabelle, who clearly is this sweet looking little girl wearing sort of a satanic robe, has a pentagram on the front. She has her arms outstretched.
Right.
And says, Annabelle is spreading knowledge and helping to dispel fear and ignorance by demonstrating her satanic ritual for her class. Find 6 differences to help her. Okay. And so the kid, you're supposed to find the differences between the two pictures. There's a jumble, just a word, mixed up words.
And it's what's funny is that, so I saw this too. And I actually looked at the PDF of the coloring book itself.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at right now.
And like the jumble, I fully expected it to be like Lucifer, and like Satan, and
no, there's like justice.
Yeah,
and
it's like all of these unimpeachable words.
Well,
it's like
there's friendship, compassion, respect, empathy, justice, reason, and freedom.
Right.
But the story on that page is, these bullies are mad and afraid of things they don't understand. Help Damien use inclusive language to diffuse the situation.
I fucking love it so much.
And then there's an actual like coloring book page, and it says color Annabelle's study filled with satanic literature and philosophy. And then there's a connect the dots, of course. It has, and I think we know what it's going to be. There's a goat head in the middle, and a bunch of numbers arranged in a circle around it. So I think that might form a pentagram when it's all done.
Yep.
It's
very
There's
cute.
a word search and a maze, and
again, the word search isn't a bunch of like satanic things. It's not like, anarchy and kill the Jews, or I don't know what it would be.
There is a secret code. There's a decipher the code type thing, where it has like numbers over blank spaces, and then it has the alphabet all listed out with corresponding numbers, right? So you decode the message, and the message is Audi Pressis Mea Satana Blessed Be. So they did get one of them in there.
They got one in. That's good. That's good. But it ends with Blessed Be, which I think is hilarious because they're using our words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to add a little bit of another twist to your story.
Oh.
Because there's another group that's also wants to get its literature into the schools of Orange County, Florida.
Oh yeah.
And that would be the Raelians.
Oh, of course.
Do you know the Raelians?
I'm familiar
sort
with
of
them.
a UFO cult.
Yeah.
That is trying. What's great is that half the time when they make the news, it's because they're trying to bring back the swastika.
Right.
This was originally a symbol of peace.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah, exactly. Their current symbol is a Star of David. It's essentially a swastika that's kind of morphed into a Star of David. That's what, if you ask them.
That's really creepy.
It's not. There's nothing okay about these guys. It's just like an alien sex cult, and that's fine. I don't care, if you're in an alien sex cult. But I think that that's very funny that they are also petitioning to get their stuff into the schools. It's
Indeed.
I think maybe Florida might slowly be learning what cans of worms look like.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Because they definitely opened one with that rule.
We'll see what
they're going to have to go back to the rule of nobody can.
Right.
And it's going to have to be really, but now it'll be so clear as to why they can't.
Right.
And
exactly.
the Christians hopefully will have learned their lesson, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, we can't.
Right.
Okay, we get it now. We get it. We can't. Because people that we completely disagree with can come marching along.
And give their shit to my kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Even
Except
though
that they won't get it. They'll just be like, no, we got to ban those guys.
Yeah.
Our stuff is still fine. How do we ban those guys?
Yeah. Well, how can we somehow get around this?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation, you can do so. You can call our voicemail line.
Ooh.
That's 424-666-8442. Leave us a message, and maybe we'll play it on the show.
Or you can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
And, of course, it's always fun to check out the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/TGIAtheist. And the Twitter feed is @TGIAtheist as well.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've got a little break that we're going to take. We're going to play some Brian Fisher. That nice Brian Fisher. He's proven to me to be a little more crazy than I thought he was.
I think he's making a very strong argument here. Okay. Let's just listen to it.
And you want one single item of proof that America is a Christian nation and not a Jewish nation and not an Islamic nation? One single bit of proof is all you need. We freely allow restaurants and grocery stores to sell and to serve bacon. That can only happen in a Christian country. You can't do that in Israel. I've been to Israel. You go into the hotel to eat dinner, go into a restaurant, you can't get bacon there in it. You're not going to get it. Why? Because it is a Jewish country. You go to a Muslim country, you are not going to get pork. You're not going to get bacon. You're not going to get a ham sandwich anywhere. Why? Because it is a Muslim land. So the sheer fact that we freely allow the sale and consumption of bacon is absolute proof that we are, in fact, a Christian nation.
He's sorted it out. It's a Christian country.
I've never been to China, and I don't know about bacon in China specifically, like American bacon. But they have pork.
Yeah.
This guy's not thought it through at all.
Yeah, I don't think he has. Well, he's also missed part of his own argument, which would be that, if he wants to continue to add more support to his argument, he could say, we also sell beef. Hindus don't do that. It can't be a Hindu country either.
Yeah, well,
apparently in his mind, literally, a country can be one of three things. You got your Muslim countries, you got your Jew countries, and you got your Christian countries.
Yeah.
And
clearly,
of the three, we sell bacon.
He lives in his own little world.
It's
that man.
He's a brilliant logician.
I can't.
And
I
commend
really
him
have a
for
hard time. Truly, this is one of those moments where I'm just like, I can't convince myself that he's legit in this.
There's no way that
legitimately that he thought this through and saw no problem with saying that whatsoever.
There is no way he believes this shit. I just can't imagine that he actually believes it. I believe that there are people in this world who are fine with spouting bullshit that they know is bullshit because they think maybe it'll take hold with somebody.
Right.
And it's as long as it's bullshit that supports my way of thinking as opposed to the bullshit that doesn't, I'm okay with it. So as soon as somebody else says bullshit that's against my way of thinking, I'll call them on it. Anyway, I'll get some. Let's talk to some of our listeners, shall we? We got some emails and some voicemails. I'll start with an email.
Okay.
Janie wrote in, said, "Hey Frank and Dan, love the show. When I heard about the atheist airmen being forced to swear under oath, so help me God, I was appalled. That story made my wheels start turning. I've never had to appear in court yet, but I would have a major issue if I was forced to be sworn in with my hand on a Bible and swearing that same oath, so help me God. I'm an honest person without God. I couldn't just pull the old crossing my fingers so I actually don't mean it. A secular oath would be wonderful, but there's not one in practice. I would like to know if you guys have had to swear an so help me God oath and just recited it to avoid hubbub, or what would you do if you had to? And any listener thoughts on the subject?" Well, my understanding is that courtrooms have long since abandoned that the oaths in courtrooms are secular.
What about the place your hand on the Bible thing? Isn't that still a thing?
I don't know. I know that you can opt out. I know that's been played out in courtrooms and that you can opt out. Now, can you opt out and then still be considered a trustworthy
what
witness
what
or
does
whatever?
The jury do?
Exactly. No, so I don't know. I certainly, I'm with you, Janie. I would never just pretend like I was okay with it.
Right.
My code of ethics, my personal code of ethics, allows for a lot of lying and stuff. If I want to, but it does not allow for me to be in a court of law and say, so help me God, and put my hand on a Bible. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
I have pretty strong ethics. I think there are times when you have to lie. If someone says, look at how cute my baby is, isn't she beautiful?
You lie.
You say yes. It doesn't matter how ugly that kid is. You say gorgeous.
Right.
But that's a harmless lie, and I don't misrepresent myself in places like a court of law.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I would ask what other options they have. I would say, I'm sorry, I don't believe in that. What other options are there for me?
I'll put my hand on the Constitution.
Sure.
Why not?
Sure, I'll put my hand on that, and I will swear to tell the truth. And not so help me anything. So help me.
A bologna sandwich.
Sure.
So my hand on this bologna sandwich.
I don't know about swearing to be truthful over bologna. Over something that we use
that is not truthful.
That we use as a stand-in for the word for being false. Anyway, Why don't you do a voicemail?
All right. Well, this actually is. I want to play this one for Clark, the young man who had access to his father's search or what was it?
His history,
his web history on his iPhone.
Right.
Right.
He and his dad shared an Apple ID, and
Exactly.
he found some stuff that he wasn't pleased about finding.
Right. And this is another possible explanation of what happened there.
Hey, Frank and Dan, this is Richard from Texas. I'm calling in regards to the person that you said you got a message from him saying that he got his dad's search history in his phone. I, being the expert you requested in all things porn, there's a certain thing that some of these cheating websites do. They're pop-ups mostly. If someone searched my history, they would see that I've been visiting cheating websites, so I've never done anything to look for them. They just pop up on their own sometimes whenever someone's browsing porn. Yeah, just give a heads up to your listener. His dad might not be interested in cheating on his mother. It might just be the insidious ways of the cheating industry. Love the podcast. Keep up with a good show. Talk to you later. Bye.
Why can't we find ethical cheating industry people? Why is it so hard for them to just have a good, strong set of ethics?
I think they just really want to get the word out about their website. I think that's a wonderful point.
Yeah.
And a wonderful thing to.
That's true. Clark, you don't necessarily know what your dad's up to.
Exactly.
So don't jump to conclusions.
This is the Three's Company lesson of the day.
Which
is just because you're overheard...
making a reference that doesn't mean anything to Clark.
I'm sorry.
Clark, Frank is referencing a TV show that's a million years before you were born.
But that is a classic. And every episode basically was predicated on some overheard half of a conversation, right, and then somebody jumping to a conclusion.
And
right? Because of what they heard, but they didn't hear the first part or the second part or whatever. And I think this is a very good point. You don't know what's going on here.
Now there's
what you do know is that your dad's probably hit some porn sites, and that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, we all hit the porn sites. It can, yeah. We won't get into porn as a concept, but yeah, that's not a big deal. I will say this. You've brought up a point that I think is pretty... I don't think we can let it just lie there. We've probably got to tackle this.
Okay.
Mr. Furley or Mr. Roper? And the Ropers are a couple. Like, where do we fall on this?
Like, which do I prefer?
You got to love your Don Knotts.
I love Don Knotts.
So I'm thinking you got to go Furley, right?
Yeah.
The Ropers are funny because she always wore those caftans that were amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
But you got
I liked the.
But the other question is which one
Mr. Furley's reaction to the homosexual undertones of the show,
right?
Of the relationship, because the whole thing is that Jack said he was gay in order to be roommates with these two girls.
That's right.
Because of the prudish landlords, right?
Right.
And somehow that got him in the door, being gay in 1979 or whenever the show got on.
We could do a whole show about this show. We could do a whole show.
The morality of
the changing of the Chrissies.
Oh. Well, no, that female role changed. They never called her Chrissy.
I feel like they were both Chrissy.
No, there were three of them.
there were
three. There were three Chrissies.
They were
I think people will know what we mean by that.
They were all busty
Chrissy.
blondes.
No, I thought one of them... No, I think you're right. They were all blonde, I think.
Well,
yeah.
You need to get your busty blonde in there.
You had the brunette.
Yeah. She was
Janet.
Janet was the boring brunette, and then Chrissy was the dumb blonde.
Yeah. But she was only on for she was on for a short time, wasn't she?
I don't know. Suzanne Summers?
Yeah. And then, there was a flight attendant. I remember that.
Oh my God, we need to stop. We're just talking about that fucking show. Also to the point of Clark, another listener wrote in just with a quick pro tip for Clark,
okay.
which is that iOS 8, 8.0, the upcoming Apple new update, will contain a way for parents to monitor kids whilst also giving them their own Apple ID.
Oh, okay.
So, if your dad feels like he needs to monitor you, that can be done. There's a whole thing. You can find information at Apple's website, apple.com/ios/what's-new/family-sharing.
Awesome.
Or
and
just
iOS 8 is out, so this can happen now.
Yeah. So go ahead. Anyway, here's one. This is a long one, but I found it so interesting. You remember last week we talked about the concept of radicalization.
Yeah.
And how, like, the thought that, was it last week? Or was it 2 weeks ago? Oh, God, now I'm all
I don't know.
Anyway, the thought that, all of these young people are being recruited from our Western societies to go and be with ISIS and fight with ISIS and support ISIS. And that's crazy to us. Well, this Brian wrote in from Canada. He says, "Hey, guys, I just listened to episode 148 today. I thought I would share my story about radicalization. About 40 years ago, just out of high school, I became radicalized. Not Islamist, of course. I am a lifelong atheist. I fell in with a group of Marxists/Trotskyists and went down that path. To provide context, 1974 was just around the end of the Vietnam War. There was a lot of propaganda. I can't read this whole thing, so I'm just sort of scanning to see what I should get to. He says, when you're in your late teens, it's easy to get passionate about things. And for me, the group I was part of, we were very concerned with what was happening in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. And that then, as the decade wore on, U.S. interference in Iran, Cuba, and South America. Obviously, he said, again, I'm sure the way the media portrayed U.S. involvement was not the same as what we saw. He says he had talked about how they would get these sort of pamphlets that would talk about what's really going on. And
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said we had our own pamphlets, which we passed around among the group for careful study. Because this was pre-internet. Clark, sometimes there was a time when there wasn't even any internet. There was
much less iPhones.
There was no browser history to even know.
Yeah.
My best friend at the time was a guy named Kevin. Kevin and I decided we would go join a guerrilla group in South America. I think we chose Bolivia.
My God.
But that was a long time ago, and I don't remember the details. I know he and I once met with a Bolivian guerrilla leader named Hugo Blanco. I grew up in the country, so I knew how to use a gun, and I spent some time teaching Kevin about guns, shooting, and how to find yourself around in the bush. I guess it was pretty silly to think that these skills would make us effective South American guerrillas, but we were kids at the time. We used to go to demonstrations all the time, and for one reason or another, I missed one where the police came and beat up Kevin pretty badly and arrested him. I think it was a women's rights rally or a gay rights rally, but regardless, it certainly did nothing to make us think that the system was fair. Incredibly, for a long time, I was envious of Kevin for being beat up and arrested.
Holy wow, yeah.
He talks about how things got really bad, and he basically his group was planning a crime that was a pretty big deal, and he questioned that, and he wasn't allowed to question it, and so he had to leave.
Wow.
They ended up not doing the crime, but it was just harrowing. So he says, when I hear about how ISIS recruits from the U.S., Canada, and the EU, I get it. I don't know what tactics they use, but I understand how easy it is to be led down that path.
Wow.
There, but for the grace of flying spaghetti monster, go I, he says. Yeah, I mean, it's, there you go. It's not as crazy as you might think.
Yeah.
There's something in, especially a young mind. He's right. It's like the youth, you get passionate, and then just something glinty captures your attention, and
well, and you're an adult for the first time, and all ideas seem new, and all experiences seem new, and you just don't have, and because they are,
and all authority seems,
and you just haven't built that experience yet to be able to really figure out the dangers of what you may be doing.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's Wow, thank you for that.
Yeah,
That's great.
A really fascinating story. Do you have another voicemail for us?
I do. And this is, we talked about marriage 3 episodes ago, I want to say. And this is someone who is chiming in with a sentiment that I have felt from time to time.
Hey, Frank and Dan, this is David. Just calling about episode 147. Had a few comments about the discussion about marriage and the legality of it. I think the solution is that the government just needs to get out of the business of marriage as a concept. Just erase it. That's a religious thing. Let religion have it. We cede marriage to them. However, the government should, I think, recognize any type of civil union. So if any people decide that they want to enter into a contract with each other where they share their assets, where they have power of attorney to make each other's decisions, they should be able to do that. I don't really care who it is. It makes no difference. So, and I think this even covers multiple people. If you had 4 guys that are best buds in the world and they decide that they want to combine their assets and be able to make decisions for each other, they should be able to draft a contract, take it before a judge, and you should approve it. And I think that as long as the judge, or as long as the requirements for the civil union also require some sort of exit strategy, right, which today we call a prenup, but it just has to be there. So if one of those people decides to leave the contract, this is what that means. They get some portion of the assets, whatever. It's decided in advance. The judge approves it. No questions asked. I think the whole legal question of divorce, whether it's multiple people, one people, it doesn't matter. And so I don't know. I think that's a good solution. I don't know how in the world we'd ever get that passed, but if we ever found a way to do it, I think that might be the answer. Anyway, just thought I'd share that with you. And love the show. Keep up the great work. And hopefully I get to hear your comments on this. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Yeah, I have nothing. There's nothing wrong for me with that sentiment. It's just it'll never happen aspect of it.
I do have a bit of an issue with that, and it's the separate but equal argument. The problem is that since time immemorial, it's been called one thing,
right?
And a lot of people are being excluded from that thing. And so I feel like if we did it that way, then it would still be this sort of exclusionary thing. I think
He's not saying add in civil unions as an option. He's saying give marriage completely, wholly over to religion.
I get
That's their thing. And then over here, the legal thing is civil unions.
Yeah, but then...
And that's, to me, that's not separate and equal, because then if you want a quote-unquote marriage, you can go find somebody to solemnize that marriage,
if you can. I mean,
then you get a friend of yours to get online, get one of those little fake minister things, and perform a wedding ceremony for you, and that's your marriage.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I disagree.
Marriage is then on your terms rather than.
I just think we need to continue to call it marriage. I just think we need to own that word. Society needs to own that word, not just the religious. I understand the argument. It makes perfect sense to me.
Right, but
I just think that psychologically, it doesn't work.
Yeah, but you still can call it your marriage. It's 100% on your own terms.
We're talking about a semantic problem here, but I don't want to get too deep into it. But my feeling is, society, we can't just cede the concept of marriage to the religions and then have our own sort of governmental idea of it. I've heard that argument before. I just don't think that it works, because I think that there's a psychological problem where people wouldn't respect. There would be a respect issue, and I think that that all of these relationships need to be equally respected.
All right,
that's just my feeling. We have some donors that I wanted to thank.
Okay.
Susan is now a subscriber, a monthly subscriber. Thank you so much, Susan, for your generosity. Rebecca has come in with a one-time donation that was pretty generous. So
fantastic.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for all of that. Angela is also a new subscriber, as is Jeff.
Well, thank you, guys. That's great.
And Ray had a very nice one-time donation as well.
Wow, that was a good week.
Yes. Although we need good weeks. That's a good thing. So if you want to also contribute to the making of this show, please do so. You can go to thankgodimatheist.com and select the Support Us tab. And then you can just support the fuck out of us.
Absolutely.
We'd appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well, all right. War on Christmas, Dan.
I declare war. We in the Thank God I'm Atheist have declared war. I don't know why it's that accent. It just sounded warish.
Was that Kennedy?
It was like a fake Kennedy. It was like a midway between a Kennedy and somewhere else. Kind of went Kennedy at the end there.
I was wondering if it was Roosevelt at first, but then it quickly ran away from any hint of Roosevelt.
Yeah, and then went to Kennedy. I'm going through all of them. I don't know. Anyway, here's the problem that I have come to, and this is why we needed this war. It is September, people. It's fucking September.
Uh-huh.
And I received on my doorstep an envelope inviting me to a Christmas concert.
Like Dear Neighbor, right?
Dear Neighbor.
Handwritten on the envelope.
Handwritten.
Yeah.
I open it up. There's a letter, a form letter with an underline where the person is to fill in the person who's put this on my doorstep is to fill in their name.
Right.
In my case, it was someone Park. It was
Sun Park.
It was some Korean person.
Uh-huh.
Fine. And then it says, we're inviting you to this event. It's going to be amazing and blah, blah, blah. It's a Christmas concert in September.
September 30th is the Salt Lake concert.
The fucking bastards want me to celebrate Christmas with them in September.
It's a Christmas cantata.
And then...
why would you not want to go to that, Dan?
I'm fine with the music. That's great.
In September, why not just get the season kicked off early?
I am trying
Jesus appreciates it. He's kind of insufferable when his birthday comes around. You know those people who like they have like multiple nights or like a week,
right?
And it's just all about them.
Oh, he's one of those.
It's just total bullshit.
And it's not just a week. It's like a month before they're like starting to drop the hints and whatever.
It's awful.
But
he likes it.
But
since he is, he's Jesus Christ, for crying out loud.
Jesus Christ. No, this is worse than any. He's the worst one of them all. I literally, like, if it were just the one thing, it's fine. It's not fine, but it's the one thing. That's one thing. But I also have it's starting to pop up on my Facebook already.
Yeah.
Somebody posted a thing about these cute little candy Christmas trees that, you take a big Reese's peanut butter cup and then you put on top of that a little Reese's peanut and then a kiss on top and then you decorate it and it looks like a Christmas tree and blah. And this was a very nice lady that posted this on there, but I was like, I am still trying to get summer out of this month.
It's 90 degrees today.
I'm wearing tank tops still. Don't fucking assault me with the goddamn Christmas yet.
Yeah.
Believe me, the war on Christmas. This is
the R&D season leading up to Christmas. This is where you need to you get your catalogs and you start picking out your decorations. You start, clearly collecting up recipes and trying them out because you have to perfect a recipe. The first time you don't want to be the first time you're doing it to be like in the season. Because, oh my God, what if you screw it up? You've wasted all that time, all that precious Christmas time.
No. They're doing it wrong because the whole point is you've got plenty of time because it gets dark so early. Starting in November, it starts getting dark early. You're bored. You can't go outside. You're not in a park.
Yeah.
It's too cold to go outside.
Right.
You get indoors and you figure all your shit out and you get fat. It happens in November.
Yeah.
It does not happen in September.
God.
I'm furious.
See, well, this is the season.
It's showing up in the Target. It's showing up in the Costco.
Well, and okay. All right.
It's not okay.
No, but I mean,
I'm declaring war.
I just realized, though, that I need to lose some weight before the Christmas season.
So that you can put on your Christmas pounds?
Yeah, otherwise I'm going to be fatty McFat.
Well, that's okay.
I don't want to be fat. I felt my little belly, hanging over my belt, and I was like, I don't want that.
Welcome to your late 30s, my friend.
Oh, it'll go away.
No,
it's fine.
Not anymore.
No. It really will.
Not anymore. It's
You've been having a very different experience. Your body has shifted.
I'm a month older. I know. I know the difference.
It doesn't. The same calendar doesn't exist for everyone. I still shed pounds fairly easily.
It's coming. It's coming for you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm literally just every time now that I hear O'Reilly and his minions saying the war on Christmas, blah blah blah. All I can think is you guys fired the first shots.
Yeah.
Literally, it's nothing to do with us.
Right.
All we wanted was like keep it out of the schools and keep it out of the fucking state house.
Right. But now let's keep it out of the stores until it's the Christmas season.
Yeah.
I have no problem.
I mean, originally my thought was you have to wait until after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. Wait till after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
No. I'm even going to give you all of November. If you wait until after October,
until after Halloween,
I will be fine. But Jesus Christ, it is summer. I'm furious.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I guess it is still summer for a couple days, right?
Yes.
How many days? This will be coming out on
like a week.
No, the 21st is the first day of fall.
It's still summer. I got a thing
right
on
now,
my doorstep.
It is still fall or summer.
In summer.
But as this is going out, it will be the beginning of fall.
Yeah, it will.
But we should be able to enjoy fall. I love fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want sweater weather without Christmas sweater weather.
Right.
You know,
Christmas is coat weather.
Yeah.
No, to our Australian listeners, I apologize. I know that it's now that you have an entirely different set of things you have to deal with.
We're being hemisphere centric.
We are. But you know, we are hemisphere centric.
Yeah.
And I don't know what what the wars on Christmas look like in Australia. I'm guessing everything's very different. I listened to Tim Minchin's song "White Wine in the Sun" about Christmas, and I'm like, "White wine in the sun on Christmas?
That sounds delightful.
That sounds really nice. Can I go to Tim Minchin's house for Christmas?" Anyway, I also find that song very moving.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, there
It's
you go.
everything that I like about Christmas. He feels the way that I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, rant over.
Have we beat that dead horse?
Yes. I'm done ranting. Thank you guys for listening to this. If you have any questions, comments, or things that you'd like to say to us, you can write to us. The email address is podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or we love to hear your voice. You can call us and leave a message at 424-666-8442.
Yeah, that's always nice. And then you don't have to suffer through me reading your message because you've said your message.
Right.
Then you have to suffer through that. Or you can just go to facebook.com/TGIAtheist or our Twitter feed @TGIAtheist.
All right. And of course, the website is thankgodimatheist.com.
That's where you can go and donate, like all of our generous, good listeners do. And thank you to Mackenzie for keeping up on the Facebook page. I did get your email. I just haven't gotten back to you. I apologize.
All right. And of course, thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music.
And we will see you all on our 150th episode next week.
Bye-bye.